3 weeks ago, we did the damage tier list for Radiant Stars, so now I finally remembered that I have to record the other tier lists. So we have the support tier list. I prepped it a little bit ahead of time. I'm also doing this live on stream, but not paying attention to chat. But I will pay attention to this goddamn fly that will probably buzz around and bother me quite a bit as we go through this. I don't need to scroll down because I have all the picks right here for me. We're going to be talking again about like high elo ranked and kind of taking competitive in consideration, but we're going to be counting Io, who's currently permabanned in competitive, so not taking it as into consideration as we can otherwise. I think my top support, I'm going to have 3 Inest tier. Remember, it's not going to be listed within the tiers in any order, just the tiers they are. It's all situational, map, comp, etc., etc. You're not going to have any better than others. I think Corvus I'm going to put him at Inest tier. I think he is a huge benefit to your team, but you have to play him in a kind of specific way. You need grand design. They'll give lifesteal to your teammates card in your build, and you need spreading influence to be picked as your talent to be able to multiply that buff that you're giving out, and just give out way more heals in general. Mark 2 players. Rotate your marks so you can get the benefit of, if you heal a marked target, you get a second off of your cooldown. Sometimes you could just leave marks on your DPS and let them play off that lifesteal. A lot of flexibility in what Corvus does, kind of high APM, even though he has this auto aim heal. I think you're just constantly rotating marks, thinking about what you want to be doing with that next. So Corvus brings a lot to the table, and once you get good with his ultimate, you can survive a lot more pressure, and you can set up pushes for your team. So I think a lot going on with Corvus, and he belongs, I think, in the highest tier right now. Genos after him, you're going to see a trend with any support who can hard pocket a DPS or a tank or anyone to keep them alive is going to be kind of the best right now. Amplifying what DPS do, making them even better, is kind of the name of the game in Radiant Stars at the moment. So Genos, obviously 15% damage boost, going to be massive. Giving passive healing, not a ton of healing, but still enough. And then supplementary damage plus a setup ultimate, which can work with some of the meta tanks and everything right now. I think great filler there. For any composition, if you play triple DPS, he's perfect. He can help some tanks sustain. Gnar will do more damage with him. Nando will be able to live with the shield up with the mark. So Genos, I think, can bring a lot to the table if you could rotate your marks and if you're good with them. Third to this, and not in competitive because she is banned from competitive for some bug where Luna gets desynced hitbox-wise from where she is visually, but playable in ranked. Doesn't happen enough where you should feel too bad about running her. She has the ability to, even after the nerfs to Luna, just don't put Luna on the point in front of everybody, please. I still see IOs rolling out in ranked and just dropping Luna on the point, instantly dying, and then being like, why did we play IO? No, you put Luna on either when you really, really need a contest, or when your team is won and is zoning. Situations like that, you want to be able to have that contest that no other support really brings, and she still has that pocket potential. She has almost Saris level healing on a meter, but she can also give that 15% damage reduction. So either way, the top 3 supports I think in the game right now are supports that can amplify your other players on your team, as the support should do in different ways. Corvus gives lifesteal, passive healing, and movement speed. Genos gives a damage boost and a passive heal. Io only does one person at a time, but gives them a massive burst heal and damage reduction. All things that help them win 1v1s and let them take fights a little bit differently, plus the added utility that they all bring. Otherwise, Corvus, really hard to dive. Good ultimate, I think, for setup. Genos, Void Grip for CC on certain characters. Good ultimate. Io, Luna, incredible utility, just good into some meta point tanks right now. Nando really struggles into Io, I think, personally, and she has a really kind of get off me ultimate that helps significantly. I'd say Genos, and Corvus definitely belong in the S tier for supports. Right below them, I think Grover, someone who you do have to play around him a little bit, but if you're picking Grover, it's kind of not on you, it's more on the rest of your team to play around you. And a good enough Grover will be able to rotate in time to get to the team and help them out. He has great damage. He has a fantastic ultimate that, since the cauterized nerf, has been a lot more valuable. And he has one of the best CCs in the game, arguably. I mean, a route that can bounce between everybody on the enemy team. And you can just have your team follow up on that kill. You can catch people trying to run away. If you're good enough with it, you're hitting flanks in midair, stopping them dead in their tracks, guaranteeing a pick on like a 4-second cooldown. And every route you hit gives you more cooldown on your burst heal, which gives you even more ult charge. It all adds up for Grover being kind of an ult machine who is also doing everything you want your support to be doing. And he's healing people that he's not even trying to heal. So Grover, I think, great For most compositions. Any poke comps, he's great. Even kind of the more mobile flank comps, he can be good because he can just put himself kind of between his tank and his flankers, go in to give them heals occasionally, and just output a ton of damage to help them follow up on kills. The only other support in the A tier with Grover is going to be Domba. So heal buffs that honestly I don't even know if he needed. I still think Domba was in a good place. A great kit. Very, very skill intensive with an aimed heal with an infinite range. You have the gourd that you can throw to really hard pocket someone or just spread your heals a little bit more, plus burst heal on Spirits Chosen. Super valuable to have to top off your teammates pretty often. If you run the right build with him, not only are you giving 20 to 25% speed to your teammates, but you literally have... So Possession, the card for him that gives him damage reduction on heal, I don't think I can overstate how good this card is. At max level, it's 20% damage reduction when you have someone healed, which is all the time if you're playing Domba right, of course. That's not just Haven. That's not just Blast Shields. That's true damage reduction. That is effectively Haven 3 and Blast Shields 3 from the start of the game. I don't think there is a better DR card for a support, and if there is, someone can correct me, but not one that will work while the support is still doing the rest of his kit. Still has those stuns, potentially to counter ROM or any flankers trying to get aggressive. Still has a fantastic ult that just got buffed also significantly, and intangible dash, which kind of lets him cleanse any cauterized effects on him. So lots going on with Domba. Definitely a champion that if you want to play support, put the time in. Get good with him, because there's been really few metas where he's just dead. He's always been kind of playable, and he's been getting buffs just to try to help him catch up to some of these pocket supports, and it has really added up to be a fantastic, well-rounded character. B is kind of, I'm going to call it the global alt tier, and it's not why they're there, but they just kind of end up being here. Furia, I think a great champion to have in an aggressive composition. She has good burst heals. She can peel for herself and stay alive, so even if she's kind of in the thick of it taking damage, you run more health, you run more self-sustain. You have this reset on the beam that you can use to hurt people, and you have some fantastic damage to go into the fight as well, along with, of course, Inflame, one of the best brick on the gas pedal ultimates that have ever been in Paladins. 30% damage boost and speed boost to your team is kind of impossible to ignore. So I think great for Furia. Even she can solo heal. You can run Beam Furia on some of the smaller maps a lot of the time. You can run her on Bright Marsh, Jaguar Falls, Ice Mines. Please don't try to run it on, like, Fish Market or any of the really wide maps. And it does take some level of team coordination. But in general, consistency, if you're against a couple flankers, if you want to be going aggressive, play Cherish. Put more heals into your right click. Be able to use your beam to help your team get aggressive and stun. Play more into what Furia does, you know, as opposed to trying to make her flex and do something in another way. I think great for there. And then I think underrated right now, but I think this is a fair place for her, is Ying. Life Exchange Ying in particular, of course. As a healer, I don't think she brings as much to the table as the other supports that are above her in the other tiers, but her ultimate's still great. She still has fantastic healing. She still has utility with her illusions. Again, if you're good with her, she still has great utility there. You can use it to block Drogo's ult. You can use it to just body block people in doorways. Her movement is really hard to deal with. She basically had Corvus movement before Corvus had Corvus movement. But the problem is she just has healing. She's a better Saris. If you're a Saris player, just learn Ying instead. If you really only want to just heal, Ying will do more with that, at least output damage while being able to heal with a much more consistent ultimate in Illusory Rift. I think she has a lot to bring to the table. If you want a pocket support, let's say you're playing competitive, Corvus gets banned, they pick Genos Grover, and for whatever reason you don't want Domba, you can play Ying. She really can do a lot of things that Domba does, but just doesn't have that CC or that sustainability that Domba also brings. In C, I'm going to have Pip here. This is specifically Combat Medic Pip. Yes, Mega Potion off support Pip is good, but we're kind of talking about this main support style, and Pip really just falters to the meta. All these hit scans that are so good right now, having a massive cranium that Pip has. He kind of loses to the Victors, to the Andros, anybody that can really punish him for having a big head. It hurts. It's tough for him to really get away with it. But I think Combat Medic Pip is totally playable. A lot of the time, I think you can get away with it on more maps than you think, but it's inconsistent. He basically does kind of similar things to what Maldamba does, and Ying does in terms of like this direct aim-based healer, except he has to have travel time for his heals, which really matters, and if you miss one heal, it's brutal. His pocket potential is huge, but inconsistent because of travel time, and your teammates can body block you. Your safest place to be is usually going to be putting your team between you and the danger. If someone's a little more forward near the danger, they're going to get those shots potentially body blocked and unable to really get to the team. So Pip, inconsistent because of that, but on the maps where you can make it work, huge. I think absolutely huge. What Pip can do, again, another healer you really got to be good with to make it work, and you have to have the right composition. One where maybe a couple tanks, maybe you are kind of alone, but not getting surrounded and collapsed on from the sides. So like maybe a double backline comp, and you can just output the healing that will outpace their damage. Next in C is Saris. She heals. And in D tier, I think the only healer that belongs down here is heal Grok specifically. Having very kind of low utility in general. He's easy to bully out. His healing is okay, but not great. He's kind of a worse Domba in like every way. He has the intangible movement, but he has low sustain in himself. His ultimate, okay, but you get burnt. He's all right. I remember back when we used to play him on Bork, we played him on Jag. That was our pocket strat. We put Spirit's Domain Grok inside the room next to point, just had him heal, but could be okay in a meta that has a few less blasters than it did in the past, but blasters absolutely tear him to shreds, and his uptime is alright, but you have to spend so many cooldowns and so much focus to heal. The biggest thing about Grok, though, is that you cannot get out of combat when you're healing because you have to use your primary to heal. So Pip has a similar problem, but Pip also has more self-sustain in that way. Grok, if he gets tagged, but your team needs heals, he's basically saying, alright, totem and leave. Totem and leave. There's nothing else he can do, because otherwise he keeps himself in combat around 1,000 HP, or waste utility on himself. Not as much, really, I think, for Grok. He just struggles no range compared to some of these other healers. You were just better off picking most of these other healers. I will revisit Saris. I thought it'd be funny to say that, but realistically, she doesn't really get dove. She can't really live through getting dove. She stealths and goes away, but then she's not doing anything, whereas some of these other supports can kind of fight, continue healing. If you're good enough with those healers, a Domba can stun someone, get a heal off, do some damage, maybe force the flank away and not lose position, whereas Saris just has to stealth and maybe just gets walked at. If she's playing far away where she's getting value at Immortal Reach, then she's so far away that you probably can't help her. She just gets chased down, punished. Not really any way to live. She can live, but she's not doing anything else, and a support that gets taken out of the fight so easily isn't really helping the team that much. And her ultimate just gets blocked. It just gets blocked by shields. It's great setup when people don't know it's coming, but it's really clearly stated when it's coming in. Someone just shields, looks at it, or they can peel for their team with it. Saris ult just doesn't do enough, and I think that to me is how the supports in general are looking in Radiant Stars. I think pocket supports at the top, supports with great utility and CC are right below them, supports without as much utility but still great healing are there, and then supports that are just inconsistent or easy to punish are below that. Thanks for watching.